Hi guys, it's been a brutal week and I haven't gotten a lot done here aboard Athena. What little I have gotten done, I'll show you in just a few seconds. I've got a ton of stuff on my to-do list for this weekend, so I better head up and get busy. In this video, I'll start to take a look at some of the changes I'll make in the port side aft cabin in preparation of rewiring the 12 and 230 volt systems here aboard the boat. I know a lot of you guys have been looking forward to that project, as have I, and I hope to get started on that by the end of the month. Earlier this week I had a Skype chat with some cruising friends of mine about the modifications I'm going to make in the aft cabin. When doing a project like this, it is awesome to have friends that you can use as a sounding board for your ideas. And of course that includes you guys and all of your feedback. So thank you so much for all of the awesome comments. I appreciate them a lot. But before I get to the aft cabin, let me just show you what I've gotten done this last week. I doubt you guys will be able to see much of a difference on camera, but nonetheless I have managed to get both the second and third coat of paint on the starboard side of the saloon. And that's not bad considering the ridiculous amount of time I spend masking off the teak trim between each coat, and also factoring in that it has been a pretty busy week with lots of distractions, for instance from that pesky 9-to-5 job of mine. But that's not all I've managed to get done this last week. I've also managed to create Wilma. Most of you guys know that I'm single, and for a single guy it's really difficult to grow a YouTube channel. You need that girlfriend you can use for clickbait. See, that's the key. And that's where Wilma comes into the picture. Now, sadly, she might not be much of a looker, but hey, she's great for conversation. Before I do anything else, I'm just gonna spend a bit of time tidying up here because this is just pure mayhem. Ta-da! All tidied up. Now let's take a look at that aft cabin. Because of the limited amount of space in there, I've brought along one of my old GoPros. Because of the wide angle lens on the GoPro, it's going to be a lot easier for me to give you guys a good idea of what the layout in the aft cabin is like. And I shot my first 100 videos on this very camera, so for me this is kind of a fun blast from the past. Now I do apologize for any noticeable difference in video quality between the GoPro and my Panasonic GH4. Welcome to the aft cabin here aboard Athena. I showed you this briefly in the last video, but if we turn our attention to the GoPro camera, you should get a better idea of what the layout in here is like. And I gotta say, I quite enjoy this aft cabin. There's a good amount of space here, and the chart table is awesome. Even though I like just about everything about this aft cabin, I still need to make some modifications. I need to do that because I need to fit a bigger DC distribution panel somewhere around here. I need to do that because there's a lot of electronic gadgets I want to have hooked up here aboard the boat. Besides the new DC panel, I'd also like to fit a big computer monitor in there and some AC panels too. If you've been watching my channel for almost any amount of time, you'll know that I'm a big fan of mucking things up using cardboard and paper. And the changes I'm going to make in the aft cabin are going to be no different. I haven't fully decided on what DC panel I should get yet. There are two options I'm considering, so I'll just make a template of each of them and I'll show you. Like I just mentioned, I'm considering two different panels. Both of them are from Blue Sea. Up here we've got a custom design 360 panel, and here we've got a traditional metal panel. I have a feeling the 360 panel is going to cost more than I'm prepared to spend, but we'll see what happens once I get the quote. If I choose to go with a traditional metal panel, I'll also have to find space for an AC rotary switch and some AC breakers. But I'll get back to the differences between these two panels in a later video. For me to figure out how to squeeze all of the stuff I want to into this tiny area up here, I think the next step is going to be to remove the old electronics. And that includes this old SSB. Now I haven't quite decided on which one to get instead, or if I should just keep this, but no matter what, I'll just have to make sure that I've got enough room for this or another SSB. This is actually not bad considering the age of the boat, and having something kind of neat to start from is going to make my life a lot easier when I start rewiring the boat. Of course, that's not to say that this is anywhere near perfect, because it clearly isn't, and I am very much looking forward to cleaning up this mess. Given the rat's nest of wires here, it's certainly well worth the effort to mark the wires whenever removing something. There we go. I'll swap out this VHF for the one aboard Obelix, so whomever ends up purchasing Obelix will get a small piece of Athena too. My reason for doing that is quite simple. The MMSI number that used to belong to Obelix now belongs to Athena, and that MMSI number is coded into the VHF aboard Obelix, and I think it's somewhere around $100 to have that number reset. So it's certainly much easier just to swap out the two radios, especially considering that no MMSI number has been entered into the radio here aboard Athena. So it's basically like giving the next owner of Obelix a new radio. Next up, this must be the power for the radar. Yes, radar. And this little wire was in there too, so that must be for, that's the second one, for the Navtex. Okay. I hope you can see that there is absolutely nothing difficult about doing this. Ooh, look at this. Documentation, or well, sort of, to log, wind and echo. So seeing something like this is awesome. And of course, it's exactly something like this, only slightly more elegant. I'm going to do with that Rhino 4200 label maker. This next wire, I don't know where this goes, but it's just a matter of pulling on it. And I can see it doesn't go far. It goes to this, which is one of those cigar plug thingies. And I won't reuse this, so I can simply just remove this. There's only one wire left in this little panel here, and that goes to, well, that must be this light that's poking out here, and I'm not going to reuse that, so I can just remove it. And that brings me to one of the most satisfying things about doing something like this. This is the last wire. This is how this little panel is hooked up to the positive bus over there. So we can just follow this wire, and we can get rid of this. As you can see, what I've just done there, that's not difficult, and at least in my eyes, cleaning up a mess like that is the first step in rewiring a boat. So yeah, and it's incredibly satisfying too, just to be able to get rid of something like this. Oops, I got a little bit carried away there, because cleaning up that old wiring actually wasn't on my to-do list for today. It's just that it's so satisfying for me to clean up stuff like that. But what is on my to-do list for today is to figure out how I can cram all of the stuff I mentioned earlier into the area around the chart table. So to bring us back on track, I've just gone ahead and pushed the old distribution panel in behind this so that I can go ahead and put up my template for all of the stuff I want to fit here. This first one is a big computer monitor. This is a 24-inch monitor, and it'll be awesome for editing videos on and also for running stuff like OpenCPN. Having that big monitor is going to be awesome, but if I go for the big 360 custom design panel, it won't fit over here. So I could extend this out this way and then put it over here. That would make this area look a little something like this. Now, one of the awesome pieces of feedback I got from my cruising friends I did that Skype chat with was not to mess with the armrest area that's over there, because that looked like a big part of why this nav station is so comfortable. So I would have to bring the Blue Sea 360 panel back so that it's flush with that edge, and then maybe not bring it down all the way to the surface of the chart table, maybe leave a bit of room like over here. The lights I use for lighting small areas like this when shooting videos, that's these guys here, they've both just run out of battery, so I apologize for the lackluster lighting, but I'll push on. So when I talked about pushing this back, I actually meant bringing it forward a bit, and I can do that because the amount of space that's available behind this panel here is just cavernous. I don't need all of that space. I've used a tiny bit of cardboard to very crudely mock up what it is I'm trying to do over here. And if I get out of the way, then maybe the GoPro camera will get a better view. So over here we've got the 360 panel, and of course it's not going to bend like this in real life. Once I move this further forward, there'll be enough room. And if I go for the traditional metal panel instead, there'll also be enough room because this isn't as wide. And then this area here is free for the AC stuff. And I'll still have plenty of room over here for maybe the VHF, and all of this is also still available. I didn't really get a lot crossed off my to-do list today. I had a whole bunch of stuff listed, but the only thing I really managed to do was to figure out what to do in the aft cabin. And I think the conclusion there is that no matter what panel I decide to go with, I'll have plenty of room. So yeah. But I think the first thing I'm going to get started on tomorrow is just to pull down the old headliner and maybe some of that vinyl back foam on the inside of the hull. And I'll bring you guys along for that because we might find something disgusting in there, and that's always fun, right? And then maybe a little later on we'll take a look at the moisture levels in the hull, and yeah, we'll see. Anywho, I'll see you guys here back aboard Athena bright and early tomorrow morning. Good morning guys, today's Sunday and that means I'll start to upload this video in just a few hours. But I've still got a little bit of time to get some stuff into the video. For instance, on the way up here, I grabbed a fresh set of moisture readings from the hull. I've already entered all of the readings from the meter into the spreadsheet on my phone, so let me just go ahead and pull that spreadsheet up on my computer and we can take a closer look. This is the spreadsheet where I keep all of my moisture measurements, and if we look over here, these are the measurements from today. So the good news is that the average of these measurements is continuing to drop. So this week it's down to 64.2 and it used to be 65 2 weeks ago, so that's okay. But there is something fishy going on. Take a look at position number 24 here. So way back in early summer it was 95 and then it dropped down to 50 about 8 weeks later, and now it's back up to 90. I wouldn't be surprised if I find a bit of standing water on the inside of the hull behind position number 24. Unfortunately, that area is pretty difficult to get to, so I won't take a look at that today, but I'll definitely take a look at it later this week. I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering when the hull will be dry enough for me to continue working on it so that I can get Athena back in the water and go sailing. Well, if I look at the rate the hull has been drying out for the last 17 weeks, and I just extrapolate from that, and this is a very crude calculation, I'm looking at sometime in August next summer, but yeah, we'll see what happens. In the beginning of this video, I mentioned that I had a lot of stuff on my to-do list for this weekend, and I haven't really accomplished a lot of that. But you know what? I've made a decision. It's been a pretty annoying week and I deserve to have a bit of fun. So for today, I'll just scrap my to-do list and do what it is that I want to do. And today, that means cleaning up the rest of that old wiring in there. And I think the next step in here is going to be to pull down this crappy old headliner. There's no big surprises up here, thank God. I mean, this must be for some lighting here in the cabin. That's some speaker cables for the speakers in the cockpit. And that must be for the Faruna GPS. And yeah, that's about it. For the next bit, some protection might be nice. I can't say that it comes as much of a surprise, but it's nice and moldy in there. But I'll just go ahead and clean that up and I'll be right back. Ta-da! I know it looks like crap in here, but looking like crap beats being moldy any day in my book. So next up, let's see if I can get rid of some of all these dangling wires. This stuff for the old lighting, I can easily get rid of that because I am going to rewire all of that. And as for this wire, which goes absolutely nowhere and has a label on it that says negative, ? Loose, well, I think I can get rid of this too. And as for this super chintzy speaker cable, I can certainly get rid of that too. I'll just leave a bit of this hanging to pull the new wire through with. Now we get to some of the interesting stuff. See this wire? I think this connects up to the old Faruna unit and it comes in here and it then connects to this gray cable here, which goes to the brain box for the autopilot. So this has to be some kind of NMEA data if I'm not mistaken. I've clearly marked both sides of the wire, so I'm just gonna cut it and then hopefully at some later date I'll figure out what it actually does. Now there's only two wires connected to this, and that's the positive and the negative. And if I trace the positive, it goes to the distribution panel to the breaker named SatNav. And now there's one less wire to get caught on. I'm just going to try and fan all of these wires out a bit so that it gets easier to figure out what goes where. Yesterday I mentioned how satisfying it was to clean up stuff like this. And a good example of that is stuff like this. These two wires aren't connected up to anything. Neither these two, or these two for that matter. And I'm sure there are more hiding in there. That's one down, a bazillion more to go. And then while rummaging about in there, something like this just pops off from God knows where. I'm certainly glad I'm getting all of this cleaned up. And this cable was just connected up to the positive bus, but going absolutely nowhere. Hopefully you guys can see that I've made some decent progress here. There's a lot less wiring in there than there were just a few hours ago, and that's mostly just by removing loose stuff that wasn't connected up to anything. Of course, I still have all of this stuff in the tiny locker next to the nav station to deal with. I figure it'll take me another 3 or 4 hours to sort out the wiring that's left in the area around the nav table. Then of course I have to deal with the rest of the boat. But sadly I won't have time to show you that today because I need to get busy rendering this video, as in right now. So yeah, sorry about the abrupt ending guys, but that is going to be it for this video. See you! Yukel and I hope you've enjoyed this video. For more videos like it, click subscribe. Please consider leaving a comment and a thumbs up. It really helps me a lot and I appreciate your support very much. If you're new to the channel, please check out the introduction playlist. If you want to watch every single video I've ever published, check out the playlist named All Videos. It contains every single video listed in chronological order. Ja, det var godt. Det var dygtigt. Det var dygtigt. Det var godt, Bassen. Ja, let's go.